12, and let's talk about Baylor. News this week for the Bears. The Wall Street Journal reporting the NCAA, quote, will not impose sweeping sanctions against the school for broad institutional failings. It will instead follow its normal investigative process. What that means, Baylor is not expected to get penalties in the same manner that Penn State did after the Jerry Sandusky child sex scandal. So what do you think of that, of Penn State? A lot of those sanctions obviously were lifted, but the NCAA choosing not to do that to Baylor amidst their problems. They're
completely different scenarios and situations that occurred. When I look at the two situations, one was an actual coach who was charged, who was actually, you talk about the fox guarding the hen house, it was the actual fox at the top who was charged with all these things. There was another thing of a broad sense of cover-up going on, whereas here it was more blasé. It was more, I'm not getting into the off-the-field issues with these kids and what they do in their apartments or dorms, whatever. So I think they're different situations. And right, wrong, or indifferent, I think the NC also realized what they did at Penn State might have been too harsh and really set the program back, and it hurt their entire university instead of the people affected. And when you look at some of these things, who you affect kids getting opportunities for a scholarship to go play football. You affect other areas that don't need to be punished. The people who need to be punished are usually fired. Move on from that.
One more comment. Paul Feinbaum earlier this week says, I don't know if I've seen a program as disgusting and as despicable. It's a total disgrace. How would you just describe the Baylor program after what we've seen?
I would say that Paul Feinbaum's done a lot more digging into the entire organization or football program than I have. What I've read is basically a bunch of people turning a blind eye to what they heard but weren't sure of. And then when they did hear something, they didn't really punish or come down too hard on the kids. There definitely are issues, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying linking Penn State and what happened there to Baylor are two different scenarios.
Okay, interesting. We'll see what happens with Baylor. But the Wall Street Journal reporting not sweeping sanctions in the way that Penn State got penalties after the Jerry Sandusky situation. Coming up this weekend in the Big Ten, Michigan and